For Michael's family, for Maureen's friends, for so many people that are here today, thinking of special people in their lives that continue to be a light in their hearts, people that they remember and who lived good, long lives, or shorter lives that still shine brightly during the time that they were here with us. We hear this gospel and we are very much aware, at least I am as a priest, how oftentimes it is used at funerals. It's one of those remarkable gospels, like the Beatitudes, that are often used for different sacramental moments. It can be used at a wedding, for instance, or a baptism. There are suggestions in our ritual books for those times. And actually, it's not in the funeral ritual, but oftentimes people do choose this gospel reading because they see someone in their life that was truly the salt of the earth and the light of their world. It's interesting, though, how we hear it differently in different circumstances. Certainly in Jesus' time, for salt to be useless and worth nothing except to be trampled underfoot, especially if you're thinking of a desert climate, that the salt didn't seem to do much good. And here all of us are very grateful to the salt on the roads and the salt on the sidewalks. And as we trample over them, we're not upset, but we're probably a little grateful that we've got that instrument to help melt the hardness or the danger of life in so many different ways. So how we hear gospels can be in the context of our lives, and they can be in the context, of course, of the other readings. And that's why this gospel was so different for me today. And I've talked about that in the blog as well, but there's something very powerful about today's first reading, which talks about healing and the desperate need for healing in our lives. And it's interesting because Isaiah is talking about the corporal acts of mercy before they were called corporate acts of mercy. He's talking about sharing with the hungry and the oppressed and the homeless and the naked, caring for others and being there for others, and doing like we hear in the Gospel of Luke, that when did you do the least of these for my brothers? And if you did so, you did it for me. That in the midst of this beautiful exchange of what it means to act as people of love and consideration, that there's an awareness that as we do these good deeds, our deeds shine for others in a profound way, but they also shed light on what Jesus is calling for, and that healing aspect of what it means to be cared for and loved by a God who nurtures in us what it means to be salt of the earth and light of the world. In today's image, a light shall shine for you in the darkness, and the gloom shall become yours, that you will bestow all these wonderfully things, and you will, in the midst of all of this, your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your wound shall be quickly healed. There's an interesting aspect of salt that I never thought of before. We know what it's like to have salt in our wounds, right? We have a lot of relatives can do that for us very easily. Pour salt in the wound. But salt in the wound also, in Jesus' time, meant that it was also bringing antiseptic. It was bringing healing. It was trying to stay away from the infection. It was kind of an antiseptic in many ways. And the sting was actually a sting that brought forth healing, not just irritation for irritation's sake, but to make things better. And light in that same way can bring healing as well. Think of those times when you're down and out and to get some sunlight. We know that the world is full of gloom, and sometimes they say it's sunlight deprivation that keeps us from really having those moods in which we can be light to one another, that we feel it in our bones. But there's a sense that God brings us that healing, and God brings us that strength. And we don't have to be that beacon of light that just brightens up an entire room, but we can just be a flicker of that light that brings a little bit of relief to the darkness. and to recognize that if all of us join together as light, we can enlighten the world in profound and special ways. Our light is meant to bring healing and grace to others. And when our focus is on others, it brings healing and light to ourselves. People explain that to us all the time, don't they? When we're down and out, when we have a teenager, for instance, maybe suffering in high school and struggling with so many different pressures of life, one of the greatest things they can do is volunteer or to be of service in some kind and bring some lightness and hope and peace to someone else. And by giving of themselves, they naturally feel better. And we know that happens in our own lives. At the loss of someone we love, we're there for our other family members, our common friends. And oftentimes we're there for people that we don't even know, but we know that by giving of ourselves, by being generous of our time, perhaps of our resources, but at least of our prayer, we know that that light is also bringing healing to us. Our wounds are healed by the light we give others. And that's something quite remarkable for us to remember today. It's a reminder to all of us that as we struggle in life, God is still for us. And the good deeds we do aren't for our own glory, but for the glory of God. They remind us in a profound way that God is reaching out to us to be those instruments of healing and grace to a world that so needs it and so expects us. And it seems overwhelming at times. And that's why Paul, who's often full of himself and arrogant and kind of bold, nevertheless recognizes the fact that he's very humbled trying to do what he's called to do. And that is to be light in his own way for others. I love the fact that he comes to us in weakness and fear and much trembling. And I think to myself, I can rise to that occasion. I can do the best I can, even in the midst of my weakness and my fear. And even when I tremble deep down in my soul, I know that I can do some good because God is with us. God is with you. So when you have those anxieties, those fears, those worries, trust in the Lord to allow you to feel the light of others coming towards you. But most importantly, let the light of Christ shine upon you from within as well as from out. So may the Lord bless you. And on this cold, cold day, may you feel the warmth of God's love. And may you always have the promise of future light, future goodness, and future grace.